Morning, everyone. Our today's topic of discussion is alkyl compounds. It is a topic of Unit 4, and we are studying compounds of transition metal carbon multiple bonds. So let us start with the topic. What are alkyl compounds? So, transition metal carbene complexes, they are the organometallic compounds because they have metal carbon bond, and uh, that bond is actually a triple bond. So that is why we call them alkyl compounds. And that triple bond exists between the transition metal and the carbon. In the previous lecture, we saw transition metal alkyl compounds in which the metal and carbon they have a double bond between them. So here a triple bond exists in the alkyl compounds, and the triple bond actually it consists of a sigma bond and two pi bonds. So among the three bonds we have one sigma bond and two pi bonds. Now how these bonds are formed? So the HOMO of the carbene ligand, that is the highest occupied molecular orbital, the HOMO of the carbene ligand, it interacts with the LUMO of the metal to create a sigma bond, and then after the formation of sigma bond, two pi bonds are formed when the two HOMO orbitals of the metal back donate to the LUMO of the carbene. So back bonding exists here in such type of complexes, and in this manner one sigma and two pi bonds are formed. Now these compounds are really significant because they are very useful in organic synthesis of alkynes and nitrides. So they have a significance related to organic synthesis. The transition metal carbene complexes are most common for the early transition metals, especially the niobium, tantalum, molybdenum, tungsten, and rhenium. These are a few metals commonly known to form transition metal carbene complexes, and these are the metal, of course, known for their back bonding. So they can also have low valence metals as well as high valence metals. Both type of transition metals can form the carbene complexes, whether they have their common oxidation state is lower oxidation states, or they can exist in the higher oxidation state. In both type of oxidation states, these carbene complexes could be formed, and the metals like niobium, tantalum, molybdenum, tungsten, and rhenium, they are commonly known to form such type of complexes, the metal carbene complexes, in which the metal is forming triple bond with the carbon. So now the ligand in such type of compounds, in the alkyl compounds, we have a carbene ligand or alkyl ligand. And what is it? It is a monovalent carbon species. Now you can see monovalent carbon species, only one alkyl group is present here. Like in the earlier case of alkyl compounds, we have seen that we have a carbene here, that is Cr2 group having two free valency on the carbon. But here the carbon is monovalent, and that is why it is able to form a triple bond with the metal. So in this type of ligand, the carbon is monovalent, attached to only one group, and now it can form bonding with the metal. It has two empty p orbitals because what type of hybridization will be here? It will have sp hybridization. So two p orbitals will be free. These empty p orbitals, they accept electron density in a typical pi acceptor fashion from a metal, as well as functioning as a sigma donor. So because the carbon has two electrons on it, it has an electron pair over it. So it can donate this electron pair to the metal, and by such donation, sigma bond is formed. So the ligand is behaving like a sigma donor. Now, two empty p orbitals are also here, and these p orbitals, they will do what? they will accept the electron density from the metal. So the two p orbitals, they both will receive electron density from the metal, and therefore two pi bonds will be formed. So the ligand is behaving as a sigma donor and pi acceptor at the same time. It is both a sigma donor because it is donating its electron to the metal orbitals. So in that case, the HOMO of the metal and LUMO of the ligand are combining, and we get a sigma bond. Secondly, the two p empty orbitals on the ligand, they are accepting the electron density from the metal and therefore participating in the back donation. And what happens here? Now we have two pi bonds. So the ligand is both, we can say that it is behaving like a sigma donor and pi acceptor both at the same time. Since the alkyl diene carbine has two empty p orbitals, two sets of metal pi electrons can be accepted, and this leads to the formation of formal bonding of this type. So here you can see we have a chromium metal here, which is forming a triple bond with the Cr. Cr is what? This is my alkyl diene ligand, and at the same time the chromium is also attached with the 5 carbonyls. So these type of bonding are common, and generally the early transition metals are known to form such complexes. Now, how we can synthesize these type of compounds? So now we will discuss different type of methods of synthesis. The very first method is the historical method. In the past, this method was used to prepare the carbene complexes for the very first time. So the first carbene complex was accidentally synthesized in 1973 when an attempt to replace the methoxy group from a complexed carbene by halide ion from the boron trihalide resulted instead into a carbene complex. So the scientists were attempting to do what? They want to replace this methoxy group. This methoxy group OMe, the scientists want to replace it with what? A halide. They want to replace it with a halide. But what happened when they perform the experiment? At the same time, what happens? Accidentally, the first carbene complex was formed. M represent here the metals like chromium, molybdenum, tungsten. R could be any methyl, ethyl or phenyl group, and X could be any of the halides. So when the scientists were performing this experiment and they want to replace this methoxy ion with some halide, accidentally they prepared an alkyne complex. So this is a method of historical importance. And in this method, the metal could be any of these: chromium, molybdenum or tungsten. So actually this experiment was being performed by the Fischer, and he prepared this type of complex. So he was doing what? He want to replace this MEO. Now you can see the diagram. This is my metal ion. Here I have 5 carbonyl ligand attached to it. This is my R, which could be any of the methyl, ethyl or phenyl groups, and this is that also attached with methoxy group. So Fischer want to replace this MEO with X. So he reacted the compound with BX3, and he want this type of product. But when the experiment was performed, the actual results were different. And what happened here? The M triple bond carbon species, that is the alkyl diene compound, was formed. Early transition metal versions, they were prepared first by Schrock in 1978. Schrock was also performing such experiments, and he prepared the alkyl diene compound via alpha deprotonation of the alkyl diene. In the previous lecture, we have seen the deprotonation reaction of alkyl diene compounds. So, this type of method was first of all performed by the Schrock, and when he reacted such type of alkyl diene compounds with suitable reagents, then due to the alpha deprotonation, now see which one is the alpha deprotonation. This is my metal, this is the carbon attached to metal, and this will be my alpha carbon, and the proton attached to this carbon will be the alpha proton. And at from this position, if I am able to remove the proton, this will be the alpha deprotonation reaction. So Schrock prepared alkyl compounds for the first time by alpha deprotonation reaction, and for this he used some acidic hydrocarbon and PME3. So when the hydrogen is removed from here, now let us see what is the product. Now we will have triple bond between the metal and the carbon, and we have an alkyl group attached to it. So this type of synthesis was performed by Schrock in 1978, and he also prepared alkyl complexes. Now the above reaction procedure, we can extend it by using AiCl6, GCl3. This is actually Cl6. So this is aluminium chloride, GCl3, Al2Br6, PbR2, PPH3 instead of BH3. So we know that all these compounds are what? They are electron deficient compounds. They have electron deficiency in them. So when the similar reaction was performed and the BH3, the boron halide, is replaced here now with other type of Lewis acid, what happens? Again, similar type of compounds could be prepared. So the BH3 was actually behaving like a Lewis acid, and other similar Lewis acids could also be used for the preparation of alkyl complexes. So again, the OMe, this was replaced by triple bond CPH, and what happens here? The Lewis acid has accepted the methoxy group from the starting compound, and therefore we get the alkyl complex. Again, you can see here the reaction is carried out by in the presence of another Lewis acid, and this compound is also behaving like a Lewis acid. So again, what happens here? The methoxy group is extracted. OLI, this LiO group is extracted, and we have what? The result is we got metal carbon triple bond. You can see here the greater will be the acidity of the Lewis acid. More easier is the preparation of the alkyl compounds. So the next reaction, the next method of synthesis for the alkyl complexes, it is the fission of M triple bond M, metal metal triple bond. So some coordination complexes are known, some organometallic compounds are known which have a triple bond between two metal atoms. And if by any means we are able to break this triple bond, then we can prepare the alkyl complexes. So what type of complexes are known for this? RO3W, triple bond W, OR3. This is a complex of tungsten having a triple bond between the two tungsten atoms. And when the reaction is done with acetylenes, what will happen? C dash R triple bond Cr dash. This is my acetylene. It could be the acetylene or the substituted one. Unexpectedly yield carbene complexes via the cleavage of acetylene. So this is my starting compound, RO3W triple bond W OR3. This is my starting reagent. Then when it is reacted with some acetylene moiety, what happens here? This triple bond is broken. The triple bond between the metal atom is broken, as well as the triple bond of acetylene is broken. So this Cr dash is now attached with the W. So we got 2 moles of alkyl complex as a result of this reaction. Here the R could be CMe3, that is tertiary butyl group, and R dash could be any methyl, ethyl or propyl group. So it means that on this ethylene acetylene complex, one of the alkyl group should be the tertiary butyl group. Any of these reactants, the R should be CMe3, then only this reaction is facilitated, then only the cleavage will be done in the presence of acetylene. So this was the synthesis of alkyl-diene complexes by fission of M triple bond M. Then the synthesis could be done from the precursor of alkyl-diene. So here another synthetic route of greater utility uses the carbene precursors. Here you can see a complex of tantalum, and it is alkyl-diene complex having a double bond between the metal and the carbon. Now here the Cr2 group, R is H and R is pH. So when we have two R here, one R is H and one R is one group is phenyl group. So when the reaction is performed on such alkyl-diene complexes, what you get as a result? You get an alkyl-diene complex. So what reaction has taken place here? You can see the hydrogen is extracted and only the CPH group remains on the carbon, and it forms a triple bond with the metal. So how this hydrogen is extracted? You can see this chlorine gets this chloride ion which combines with the H and removes in the form of HCl. So we only have one Cl here, and this PME3 is introduced in place of one Cl. So this type of reactions are also commonly known for the synthesis of alkyl-diene complexes. In another type of reaction, you can see here we have osmium, and this osmium is having double bond with the carbon, which is having chlorine as R group. The Cr2 is R is Cl in Cr2, and when it is reacted with the LiAr, again what will happen? The two chlorine will be removed along with the lithium, forming lithium chloride. They will be removed, and as a result, the aryl group get attached on the carbon, and we get alkyl-diene complexes. So this is another method for the synthesis of alkyl-diene complexes. Moving towards the next method, the synthesis can also be performed from the metal halides. How we can do that? The interaction of MoCl5, that is molybdenum pentachloride and tungsten hexachloride, when such type of metal halides react with neopentyl lithium. This is my neopentyl lithium. They yield the dimeric series. This is the dimeric series with bridging carbene ligand. Now we know that the carbene ligand, they can also act as a bridging ligand between the two metals. They could be in the earlier cases, those we just saw, they all were the example of terminal ligands, alkyl-diene behaving like a terminal ligand. But the metal complexes in which the alkyl-diene is behaving like a bridging ligand, they could also be prepared. So for this we require the metal halide and neopentyl lithium, and you can see here when the reaction is performed, the alkyl-diene complex of the metal which we took in the form of halide, the corresponding alkyl-diene complexes are prepared. So what happens here? On the two metal atom we have a two bridging alkyl-diene complexes, and the Cl and the lithium, they form a salt and they are removed, and this neopentyl group, it gets attached over the metal atom. So in this manner, bridged alkyl-diene complexes could be prepared. It remains in equilibrium with the unbridging complex in which no bridging ligand is present. So here you can see this exists in equilibrium with the non-bridging moiety, that is the neopentyl group metal and triple bond with the tertiary butyl carbon. So this also gives a at the same time this type of complex is also formed, giving 20% yield, and both these products remain in equilibrium with each other. So when the metal is molybdenum, this N should be 5, and when the metal is tungsten, this N should be 6. In case of molybdenum, we have molybdenum pentachloride, and in case of tungsten, we have tungsten hexachloride. So all the N values will be 5 in case of molybdenum and 6 in case of tungsten. And in this manner, we can prepare the uh, metal alkylidyne complexes in which we have the alkylidyne ligand behaving like a bridging one. So bridging carbene ligands could be complexes could be prepared by using the metal halides. Now we can also prepare the alkylidyne complexes from the metal alkoxides. And again, how we can do that? Uh, Here you can see, if we take the reaction between WCl3O thrice, that is trimethoxy tungsten chloride with 6 equivalent bis neopentyl magnesium. So when the two complexes are reacted together, so what will happen? The reaction is performed in ether, and as a result of this reaction, we can prepare the alkylidyne complex. This alkylidyne complex of the tungsten. So this is another method for the synthesis of alkylidyne complexes. Lastly, the reaction of tungsten tetrachloride with this mercury complex or magnesium complex. This also yield a bridged carbene complex. So here is the reaction. We have WCl4 and it can react with any of these two complexes. It could be the mercury complex and it could be the magnesium complex. When it reacts with the complex, what happens? The alkylidyne complexes of bridging carbene ligands are formed. So here you can see the bridging carbene is present here. On either of the tungsten, we have tetramethyl silica as ligand. So these all were the methods for synthesis of alkylidyne complexes. Now let us see what type of bonding exists in such complexes and what is their structure. So the metal carbon bond in these carbene complexes M triple bond Cr. This could be expected to significantly short with the bond angle MCC, and that could be equal to 180 degrees. So like you can see here, this appears to be having the bond angle of 180 degree. But actually what happens, it is slightly less than 180 degree. When the X-ray structural studies were done, they confirmed this point, and it has been found that the MCCC angle is actually lesser than 180 degree in some cases, and sometimes it is also equal to 180 degree. And why we are expecting an angle of 180 degree? Because in this type of complexes, my ligand is sp hybridized. This carbon is sp hybridized carbon, and for sp hybridized carbon, the bond angle should be 180 degrees. So in these alkylidynes, the donor carbon, this is my donor carbon, it is sp hybridized. The vacant orbitals help in the formation of a triple bond with the metal. Out of these, sigma bond is toward the metal atom, while the two pi bonds are the metal d pi ligand p pi bond. So this we have also discussed in the previous slide, that the sigma bond is formed with the metal by electron donation, and two pi bonds are formed with two empty p orbitals on the carbene carbon, and this type of bonding is of back donating nature. The ligand is receiving electron density from the metal orbitals, and this back bonding results into the formation of two pi bonds, and they are what? They are metal d pi and ligand p pi bonds. It means that the metal is donating its electron from the d orbital, and ligand is receiving its the electron from metal in its p orbital. So this type of bonding is d pi p pi bond, and it is a type of a back bond which actually forms the involved in the formation of pi bond. The monomeric metal carbine complexes, they exhibit fairly linear MCR linkages, and according to the X-ray crystallography, the MC distances are typically shorter than the MC bond found in metal carbene. The bond angle is generally between 170 degree and 180 degree. So when we have a monomeric metal carbine complex, when it is behaving like a terminal ligand, then it has been found by the X-ray crystallography that the bond angle is near to 180 degree. But generally it lies between 170 and 180 degree, and bond distances are also shorter than the carbene complexes. Just like the Fisher and Schrock carbenes, those we discussed in the previous lecture, Fisher and Schrock carbines are also known. So what was the difference between Fisher and Schrock carbines? We have seen that in case of Fisher carbine, we have some heteroatom involved, and in case of a Schrock carbine, only carbon species are involved. So in the on the similar note, Fisher and Schrock carbines also exist. The Fisher carbines, they usually have lower oxidation state metal, and the ligands are pi accepting or electron withdrawing ligand. So the ligand should be electron withdrawing. It should be able to accept the electron density when it is the Fisher carbine, and generally it combines with the metal atoms having lower oxidation state. Because when the metal is having lower oxidation state, it means that it should be some late transition metal which is having a high electron density over it, and it has to donate that electron density in order to form a stable complex. So it needs a ligand which is able to accept that electron density. So the Fisher carbines, they are able to do that because they generally have the heteroatom involved. In case of Schrock carbines, they generally combine with the metals having higher oxidation state, and they are what? They are electron donating or anionic ligand. They are basically the donating ones. They are not able to accept the electron because only carbon moieties are involved in Schrock carbene. Carbon is not that much able to accept electron due to its low electronegativity. So, in case of Schrock carbines, they only combines with the transition metals in their higher oxidation state, because they don't have, when the metal is existing in its higher oxidation state, it will not have electron density to donate back to the ligand. So, Schrock carbines are known to form complexes of stable nature with transition metals in their higher oxidation state. In the Fisher carbine, the C carbine exists electrophilic behavior because it is seeking for electrons. It is what? It is having the electron withdrawing nature. So it will be what? Behaving like an electrophile. While in case of Schrock carbine, they show nucleophilic reactivity on the carbine carbon. So because they are not able to donate electrons, rather they are looking for the positive charge, because they are more of the donating nature. They needs to donate electron. So they are looking for the metal atoms having a high oxidation state, high positive charge, and they display the nucleophilic characteristic on carbine carbon. Now the carbine complex is also being characterized by many methods, including the IR spectroscopy, Raman spectroscopy, the bond length and bond angles and structure they are using by they are interfered from these techniques, as well as the other technique like we discussed X-ray crystallography. So different analytical techniques have been used to characterize these complex and to find out the bond angle and the bond length. Here are two structures of two chromium complexes. Now here you can see this chromium is actually combined with the 4 carbonyl, and this type of bond, this is actually the triple bond with the carbon, and this is my alkyl diene ligand. This is having 180 degree angle here, and the bond length is actually shorter than a triple bond length. In the next structure, you can see again this is my alkyl diene ligand, the carbine ligand, and Now the bond angle is actually slightly shorter than 180 degree. So difference is only that we have here the bromine atom in place of iodine. Here we have iodine. So iodine is actually a large size atom, large size ion, and therefore this bond angle is actually affected by the ligand present trans to it. Alkyl dynes are known for their strong trans effect. So when we have iodine attached at the trans position, then the bond angle is actually is 180 degree. But when you have bromine here, bromine attached here, then because it is coming closer to the chromium, like you can see the bond distance here, it is farther from the chromium, so the carbon can maintain a bond angle of 180 degree. But when bromine is attached, it is near to the chromium, and therefore what happens, now the bond angle actually it is reduced by 3 degree, and now it is 177 degree, and this is the shortest known chromium carbon distance. Shortest known 193, sorry, 1.69 angstrom. This is the shortest bond length known for the chromium carbon distance. So all these structural studies have been done by different techniques like mostly the X-ray crystallography, IR and Raman spectroscopy. Here you can see the characteristic frequency of carbonyl, that is 1870 centimeter inverse, and here you get the carbonyl frequency at 1938 centimeter inverse. So what has changed in between these two complexes? So you know that uh, here the tungsten is combined with the carbene, it is alkylidene complex, and here this is alkylidine complex. So in the alkylidine complex, the carbonyl, they are their frequency, their characteristic frequency is actually reduced in case of alkylidene complex. So by this manner, you can actually identify the alkylidene and alkylidine complexes, whether the metal carbon bond is a double bond or it is a triple bond. Then again, this is another complex of the tungsten having both the alkylidine and alkylidene ligands. This is very unique complex containing both the metal carbon double bond and metal carbon triple bond. And all the bond distances are actually measured by using different analytical techniques. So the metal carbon bond, which was in case of chromium, it was found to be in case of chromium it was found to be 1.69 angstrom, and here it was 1.78 angstrom. Moving towards the common reactions and the important reactions of alkylidine complexes. So basically, the alkylidine complexes are known for their two characteristic reactions. First is the synthesis of new alkyne, and this reaction is actually very important in case of the organic synthesis of alkynes. Here you can see a commonly known alkylidine complex of tungsten. When it reacts with any acetylene in excess, what is happening here? You get a alkylidine complex formed, and this CMe3 group, this tertiary butyl group, it gets attached over the acetylene. So you can prepare the alkynes of desired substituent from this method. This is simple exchange reaction. One of the ligand is exchanged here with the ligand of the acetylene. The second reaction is insertion reaction. In these type of reaction, again you can see a common alkylidine complex of tungsten. When it reacts with the acetylene, the bridging, the transition metal alkylidine complexes are formed having a CMe, or you can say the alkylidine ligand as the bridging one. So here the alkylidine is behaving like a terminal ligand, and here it is behaving like a bridging ligand. And again, you know that after formation of such product, this will remain in equilibrium with another product in which the alkylidine is in the uh, terminal form. So both these reactions, here what you have done, you have just inserted the any group on this tungsten. So this is a simple insertion reaction. So mainly two types of reactions are known for the alkyl diene complexes, and this could be the new alkyne, formation of a new alkyne, exchange reaction, and the insertion reaction. Both these reactions are very important from the organic synthesis point of view. Now the quiz time. Let me ask you two questions. This is simple fill in the blank type of exercise. In the historical method for the synthesis of alkyl-diene complex, what was the historical method? Do you remember it? And the second question is, in the alkyl-diene complexes, the two pi bonds are formed from the metal. What should be filled here? Two, the blank bonds, and the bond angle is approximately what? So do you remember the historical method for the synthesis of alkyl-diene complex? It was used by Fischer, and when he was trying to replace the methoxy group by a halide, accidentally he prepared a alkyl-diene complex. And in the alkyl-diene complexes, the two pi bonds are from the metal d pi to p pi bonds of the ligand, and the bond angle is approximately 170 degree to 180 degree. As we know that the carbon is sp hybridized and it should be having bond angle of 180 degree. But generally what happens, due to the influence of all the ligands attached or already attached on the metal atom, as well as the ligand trans to the alkyl-diene, what happens here? The bond angle actually decreases by a few degree, and we get the bond angle between 170 to 180 degree. So that is all from my side for today. Thank you everyone.